Hey ho, Nigel here. This video I'm going to show you through the Corvette campaign, especially all of the digital stuff that we've just put into Growably, which is first for us creating some digital campaign assets for you that coincide with a direct response campaign or a physical printed campaign. And so I'm just going to run through a couple of things with you. This video is very important to watch to the very end if you are going to or you're planning on using this particular postcard or any postcard that we roll out for you inside the tribe. And so I've got a couple of points that I've listed down here on my notepad that I'm going to run through. It's going to be very rough and ready. As always, I just want to get as much information and stuff across to you so that you can just get started and use this thing. But essentially, this is the campaign. It's a kind of cool, funny, quirky play on cars. I won't dive into that side of the campaign because you can figure it out yourself. But when you're dealing with this, you're going to give this to, you're going to obviously update your logo and your phone number and your URL on here. We'd always encourage you to use an individual phone numbers on any campaigns, like unique phone numbers on any campaigns or any direct mail piece or anything that you're putting out anywhere, with the reason being that it allows you to attribute and figure out the lead sources for particular calls that are coming in. And most phone systems nowadays do it quite easily, where you can have a range of 100 numbers or whatever it is, and you just assign each number based on whatever campaign you're using it in. And so you'd use a unique phone number here, a unique URL, and then you just hand this Canva thing across to your direct mail company, whoever you're using for your print and send, and they will just get rid of this pink area here and go and use that to go and mail merge in the list of your contacts in there. But anyway, that's the Canva side of things. It's very, 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 very simple. Don't make it more complicated than it is. I've seen some MSPs get caught up in trying to make this thing absolutely crazy and whatever. The key with, and the secret to marketing is just getting stuff done and out there fast. It's not with making it absolutely pixel perfect. And so just get this thing out there. Now, in terms of how this links in Growably, you'll see down here that we've got a URL, companyname.com/Corvette. And so with this particular direct marketing piece, and with any marketing pieces that we create in the future, we're going to be creating some digital component to it as well. And so what you're trying to do on here is get people to go to a landing page to book in a time with you. And so if you go into Growably, you will see now that we have rolled out, if you go into the funnel section over here, so go sites, then funnels, and you go into Tech Tribe campaigns, you will see that we've just pushed out this M365, Microsoft 365 Corvette postcard funnel. And you can see here that it says clone me. That is very important. What we need you to do before you start using it is click these three dots here and click the clone button. The reason being is if you go and edit this particular one here and in the future we decide to do an update, then our update roles will overwrite any changes that you've made in this particular one here. So if you do a clone and you do all your work in the clone, we can't touch it. Our systems can't overwrite that, and nothing's going to get out of whack. So make sure when you see the words clone me, do not miss it. Like, do not do it. Just do it. Click the button over here and clone it before you edit it. But if we go into this particular funnel now, it's a single page funnel because it's just a calendar booking form. And you can see here, if I go into the page itself, I'm just going to edit it in a new tab. It's literally just a very, very simple landing page that you can throw up on your website.com/whatever your, like, Corvette is probably the best thing to put it on. And once you go into it here, once it loads up, there's a few little things I'm going to show you. The logo up the top here, you'll see, if I move my ugly mug out of the way, you'll see here that it's got a custom value in there. It's not a link to a URL somewhere. It's a custom value, which is a variable. And Growably is built on variables. So as long as, if you go back into your settings over here, if we go into your Growably settings, if you haven't seen this before, and you go into custom values, you'll see you've got a bunch of variable things in here. And this particular one was the logo dark background one that was here. And you can see it links to a URL in here. And so the reason we do that is that we want you to only ever have to update your logo, like your dark background logo and your light background logo, in one singular spot. And that's in here. Once you do it in here, then we use that variable in everything that we roll out to you, so you don't have to update your things. They will start looking like you as soon as we push them into your account, rather than looking like us. And so this one is ready. This one will get your logo on it as long as you've updated the URL in there to wherever you've got your logo file hosted. Down here, it's embedding a calendar. You can see here that it's this little entry in the orange here is a calendar thing, and it's embedding the calendar, which I'll run through in a minute. Little letter on the left here, which you should update to, like, tweak and tune it to your own. It's just text. It's very easy to update. And you'll see a few things in here. You'll notice in here that this top section is a little bit ugly up here. And so we've put some CSS in the page settings. So if you go into the custom CSS of the page settings, this particular CSS block here will go and hide all of that stuff in the live environment. This is just the editing page, so you can't see it in the editing page. But as soon as I click on the preview button over here, you'll see it'll load as it looks like live, and you'll see the image kind of converts on the side a little bit and has a little border on it. That's another custom CSS that we've got in here, up here, with the box shadow and the rotate in there, just to make it look a little bit fancy. And you'll see down here that all those top ugly things have disappeared from the calendar here because of that other CSS in here, and it lines up nicely now. And so this particular page here is just a simple landing page that you're going to send people to. If you're sending out 1,000 of this postcard or whatever it happens to be, a certain number of people are going to look at that postcard and see the URL on there, and they're going to go to this landing page. And the goal is that you want them to book in a quick, short chat with you to discuss whether you can help them out with their Office 365 or their Microsoft 365 stuff. And so this will show up if you've got it linked into you should have your Growably linked into your calendar and whatnot. And I'll run through that with you now. But this here is essentially just embedding a calendar that's in Growably. And so to get to calendars in Growably, they're also in the same settings area in here, and you'll go down to calendars. And in here, this is a test. Actually, no, this one's fine. So if we go in here, you'll see, again, we've got a calendar in here, and we've also named that Clone Me. So we encourage you to go and click these three dots here and duplicate it, so that if we make any changes to the master calendar that we're pushed out to everybody over time, we're not going to overwrite any of the tweaks that you make to the calendar in here. But this particular calendar, there's lots of options in calendars. I'm not going to go into all the options in calendars now, but you've got a ton of options. We've set this at 25 minutes for a call. You might set it as 15, you might set it as 45, however long you want to do a call. I'd encourage you to do 10, 15-minute calls for your very first call that you deal with prospects on, and then you can then move to a deeper call once you've ascertained whether you're even going to be able to help them or not. That's the whole goal of the first call. But in here, you've got a ton of things. Like this is where you set your availability. You can do payments in here. Like most MSPs will never use payments. The confirmation page, literally, we just reload the same page and it just says, hey, your call time has looked in. It saves having to create another website page or whatever for you. You're going to see that you can set who gets the notifications of this particular calendar thing in here. Typically, it's just the contact and the guest, and we've got guests turned on in here somewhere. I think it's somewhere in one of these options, in one of these many options in here, as it allows for guests in a campaign. Must be it's somewhere in here. But anyway, it allows when they're booking the campaign over on this particular page here, they can, if they find a time slot in here and select a time, they can click down here. This is what they'll see, but then they can click down here and they can also add guests if they're maybe a business partner or an operations manager or whatever in their business, and that adds them in there. And so if we get back to calendars, that's what the calendar is. Go and duplicate it. When you duplicate it, of course, in this page builder here, you're going to have to change the drop-down box here to whatever you've duplicated it to. But again, that only takes a couple of minutes. Once you get used to this thing, it's very, very, very easy to use. Now, what happens once somebody books in a calendar? Well, that's where the rubber hits the road and a workflow fires. And workflows in Growably are one of the core features of Growably. They're one of the most amazing things that you've got in here, and they're often underused or misunderstood a little bit. And so what we've built for you in here, if you go into the automation section in here and into workflows, you will see a folder here called Campaign 11. That's just our internal naming thing on the back end as we create things. But the Microsoft 365 Corvette postcard. And if you go in there, you will again see a campaign in there, a workflow in there, but you'll see that it says clone before use. So again, right, click on those three dots and duplicate this workflow and edit the duplicated workflow. Because again, if we go and update anything, we're going to overwrite anything that you tweak inside yours. But if we go into this particular one for now, you'll see in here that this workflow gets triggered. So workflows always get triggered by something. There's got to be some sort of trigger for a workflow, or you can actually manually put people in workflows as well. But vast majority of the time, a workflow is going to be triggered by some sort of event. And so this particular event is going to be triggered by a customer booking an appointment on the calendar 25-minute M365 Corvette chat. So if once you're cloning your calendar entry to another calendar, you're going to have to come into this workflow and just update the trigger in here. Of course, you're going to be doing some testing in here, so even if you don't update this trigger accidentally, you'll notice that you're not going to get any of these emails, and that will prompt you to come in here and update this to this calendar. So this trigger is essentially saying, hey, if a person fills in this form on this page, we're going to put them into this workflow. And then inside this workflow, that's that first step here. Inside this workflow, we do a bunch of things. And one of the things we do in here is, I'll run through them very quickly. One of the things is we add a source to the contact and a lead source to the contact. I'm a marketer I've been a marketer for many years, and I love marketing. And one of the things that I always make sure I do in all my marketing is do whatever I can to figure out lead source attribution so that I know what campaign or what touch point or what interaction a customer started working or started reaching out to us on, so that I know that that particular thing is working or not, and I can track different campaigns and different touch points. And so in here, all we're doing on this step is just saying, hey, this customer came into this form. We know that this particular form is the M365 Corvette postcard campaign, so we're going to add the contact source as that in there. And that's all that step does. It's nice and simple. The next thing we're going to do is just add a quick historical record in their customer record. It's just like a note. Just says the customer booked a call. I always personally am pretty verbose with notes in my CRM, even automated notes, just because it gives me, at a single glance, a very good overview of what that particular customer's journey has been leading up until the point where I'm looking at their contact record. So this here will just show in their contact record that they've just, at this particular point in time when they filled in the form, they booked a call. Next thing here is Growably has a complete, if you haven't used it, it's got a complete sales CRM in there where you can manage customers inside a pipeline. And so what we do in this step here is we add this new contact into a pipeline called new MSP leads, which we've already pushed out to all of your accounts. And we put them into the initial stage, which is what we call the right fit call, which is this call that you're trying to have with the client, the one, like your new prospect. And we create the opportunity name in here with their first and last name. At this stage, we don't know their company name because we didn't ask it on the calendar form. We could have. However, in marketing, you learn pretty early on that the more forms that you ask for in an upfront form, the lower your conversion rates go. And so I try to, like, every time I'm running some sort of campaign, I always ask for the absolute bare minimum that I need in there. I don't fill out forms with I don't create forms with 8, 9, 10 different entries in them, because I know that every single one of those form fields in there reduces your conversion rates on your form by vast amounts. And so we literally ask for just the basics: name, phone, email. That's it. And so you'll see in there, we don't have their company name, so we can't put the company name as a part of the name in the project or the opportunity name. We just put their name and then M365 audit project. You can obviously then go and edit the opportunity and update that to whatever you want. And again, an opportunity also has a lead source option field or a field in it, so we also fill that out. These things down here, you can, if you play with lead values in your sales CRM or whatever, you can add those in there. They're very easy. But then these three next green ones here are literally just internal notifications. So all they're doing is they're going to send you or your team a notification that you just received a new prospect. Now, as you start to build up your marketing, you probably don't want to have these turned on because you're going to start getting notified all the time. We haven't had new prospect notifications turned on in the Tech Tribe for probably 5 years now, because we get sometimes 100 a day. But you may want it turned on just so that you can see it. And sometimes you might even have a step in here that assigns a task to a team member on your team or yourself to go and call the particular user. But these three things here are literally just send an SMS to this number. Let me move my ugly mug out of the way again. Send an email to an email address, whatever email address you want in here. Just saying, hey, so-and-so just booked a call with you, and send a Growably in-app notification, which those things show up. I'm not in there, but they show up in the top right-hand corner. Or if you're using the Lead Connector mobile app, they will also show up in that as a native app notification on your mobile phones. But then, so you've now done three. You've created an opportunity. You've sent out 3 notifications internally. Then you want to, these next 2 steps here are notifying the client that they've successfully booked it in. And so you may want to use SMS, you may not, it's up to you. Some, like in Australia, it's not used as much as in the US, for instance. But this is an SMS confirmation reminder just saying, hey, we've confirmed your booking. If you need to reschedule, here's some appointment scheduling links and cancellation links. And the email is the exact same, it's just got a little bit more formatting in it with the date and location. And it also gives them the options here to be able to add the appointment to their Google Calendar or Outlook calendar in their email one here. Then it waits until 24 hours before the appointment time. So if the appointment time's in 2 weeks' time, it will wait until 1 week and 6 days' time, which is managed by this wait step here. Then it sends them a 24-hour SMS reminder and 24-hour email reminder. Again, you can update all of the copy in these things to be whatever you'd like. We give you some placeholders to get started with. You can use the basics that are in there. However, I've always encouraged people to add their own flair and their own language and their own personality in these things. But again, we wait until 1 hour before the thing. We send another SMS and an email reminder that they've got a call booked in with you, and then 10 minutes. Now, these are very similar to the Zoom reminders that come out by default if you book in a Zoom call. Again, you can change these very, very, very easily yourself to whatever you prefer. This whole workflow here is an example. You can use it as is if you'd like to. If not, tweak it. You might go, I don't want this stuff in this, so I'm going to delete this stuff. So you go in here and you delete that one, or you don't want the 1 hour reminder, or you don't want a 10-minute reminder, or you don't want to send SMSs or whatever it is. Just delete those things or edit those things. It's very, very, very easy for you to manage in there. And then once you're done, click on the publish button over here. And then, as I said, make sure that you go back into the workflow trigger and just make sure that you're triggering it on the right calendar submission up in there. Last but not least, so the way to go and set the URL for your calendar, if you wanted that /Corvette or whatever, is when you're at this particular level here. Once you go back to the main level where all of your website funnels and everything are, hang on, here it is. When you're at this particular level here, if you click on settings over here, this is where you can choose the domain that you want this URL or this particular URL to be hosted on. Domains get added in your settings again, and that's not for this video, but you select your domain in there, and then you select the path over here as to what that funnel / page is going to be shown on. And if you do things like Google Analytics or whatever, you can add all that stuff in here, or you can add it at the higher level just to track that sort of stuff if you want to, or if you've got any other sorts of tracking pixels from Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever for retargeting, you can add all of them in here as well. I think that is about it. When the calendar gets created, or when we push the calendars out to your account, I believe they only come in, so it will come in here, but it will say status draft over here, and what you need to do is just click on this drop down here and change it to activate calendar, and that will activate it. Until you do, this will show up blank in here if you haven't activated the calendar. So it's just a step that you're going to need to add in there, but it's quite simple. It takes all of 3 seconds. And that's about it. This postcard, as you can see, or as you probably see on the main page of this particular entry, was the original concept for it was created by the team over at MSP Camp. So Tahir and his team, he's been working with us and has created a bunch of awesome marketing assets that we're building all of this other stuff around them for. So his team came up with this concept here and donated it to the Tech Tribe for us, so for you to use. And so you are completely welcome to go and use it in your own marketing. Obviously tweak all your own stuff in here. Big thanks to Tahir and his team at MSP Camp, and we've got loads more assets like this on the way. 2 big caveats with postcards before you get started on here. Number 1 is, don't think that sending 1 postcard is going to have a bunch of clients knocking on your door and ready to start working with you. Postcards are one small step, or not small, kind of a significant step in a bigger marketing strategy made up of other direct mail pieces and whatnot. And so you can, if you've got a really great list and you send enough of this particular postcard here, you will get some people booking in the call, as long as the list is a good quality list. But please don't look at this and go, this is going to be the campaign that's going to have clients banging down my door and it's going to save my problems with growing my MSP. It's not. It's just a one little piece in it, and we're building you out all of this big engine of different pieces that will all interact and will all be part of a bigger engine that you're continually doing this sort of marketing out to a list of contacts or a list of prospects to gain their attention, gain their trust, entertain them a little bit, and eventually get to the point where they are so struggling with they're in a pain point where they're struggling with their current IT or whatever it happens to be. They're too expensive, they're slow, whatever it happens to be. And then they come to you. And so all these postcards are all designed to just be another touch point in that process. And as I said, I'm recording this particular video now because this is the first time we've gone and created all of these extra additional assets, which was, now that we've gone through the process for one, it's going to be much easier as we roll out more for you. to get them all into your hands. The workflows, the calendars, the landing pages, the everything. So that is all from me. Oh no, there was one other caveat that I wanted to put on there, and that is that your prospect list is everything. And this call is not about how to build a prospect list or whatever, but please make sure that if you are doing marketing like this, like direct mail campaigns or printed campaigns out to any sort of prospect list, make sure that you do some work on scrubbing and maintaining and making sure that you've got a high quality list, because otherwise you're just throwing $100 bills into a vat that you'll never see them again, into the fire. And so your list really is everything. And we're going to be creating some training sometime in the near future, once we get a few of these campaigns out to you, on exactly how you can start building a list and creating a list and curating a list and maintaining a list and scrubbing a list and everything as well, so that you can start building it from 50 to 100 to 300 to 1,000 prospects in your local area or in the industries that you work in, that you can continually use this sort of marketing to. And this marketing is proven to work like crazy all around the world. Like direct response and direct mail and print campaigns is absolutely one of my favorite types of MSP marketing, and is continually proven all around the world by people that use it to get absolutely awesome results, far better than most other marketing strategies. But it's often misunderstood how to use it, and underused or underutilized because people perceive it to be more expensive, when the reality is it's actually cheaper when you look at marketing costs from an ROI perspective, like how much money do you put in versus how much do you get back. And so many people spend thousands of dollars on all of these crappy trifold brochures that they go and then plaster to 10,000 non-related, non-scrubbed businesses, and wonder why they get crappy returns. Whereas if they just put all of that time and effort and dollars into targeted campaigns like this, they would have got way more clients and prospects out of it than they did going down the broad, generic strategies or tactics that I see people use out there all the time. So direct mail is absolutely by far one of my favorite. It's the one that I see MSPs getting the most results with all around the world. And hopefully this is going to be one of the first steps in helping you use it better in your MSP. So that's all from me. Hope that helps. Have an awesome rest of the day, and all the best getting this one out there. Bye for now.